Hello everybody and welcome back. It is Michael from Hollow Thrills back with another video. And it's finally time. We got 2 weeks left until Halloween Horror Nights, which can only mean one thing. It's hype list time, baby. So in this video, I'm going to be doing both my hype list for HHN 32 in Orlando and also HHN 2023 over in Hollywood. Now Hollywood hasn't had everything announced yet, so I'm just going to be doing the houses for my hype list. And I'm going to be including my hype list part for the tram as well. So I'm going to be including that in there. But I'm excited, getting excited for you guys. Make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notifications turned on to get notified whenever I post a video. And also make sure you're following me both Instagram and Twitter. The links are down in the description below. But now let's get into our HHN 32 hype list for Orlando. So like I said, we are starting off in Orlando and we're going to be starting off with these scare zones. So we're going to be working our way from the bottom to the top, starting at number 5. My number 5 least hyped scare zone for this year in Orlando is going to be Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror. Now, this scare zone is going to be our showcase scare zone at the front of the park, like always. And it just doesn't really have me extremely hyped. I know it's showcase scare zones normally don't. This one's moved up a little bit further towards the front, so it's a little bit of a different look and a different scenery than normal, and it does kind of look like it may meander over towards Hollywood a little bit, but it doesn't look like enough of a change to make me care more about it. Like I said, you can't do much with just a showcase zone, and to me, that's what this is. It's just a showcase zone. I know Dr. Oddfellow is supposed to be there and he's supposed to be beckoning you into the event, but at the same time, there just isn't enough there for me to have it any higher than at number 5. Number 4 is kind of along the same lines, where it's more of a showcasey type zone, but this at least does have a little bit more of a story, a little bit more lore added to it, and that's Shipyard 32 Horrors Unhinged. Now, the theming and the idea and the lore behind this zone is very interesting to me, but at the same time, it sounds and feels like something we've seen before, so I really can't put it much higher. It's really just going to be a showcase of just previous monsters and monsters we'll see at the event. It honestly, the number 5 and number 4 could go hand in hand, which one I don't like more. But this one, it does have that possibility of having monsters from the past, which I'm interested to see. So the mystery behind which monsters from the past we'll see is what is making this a little bit higher on the list than the previous one. So it's just, it's kind of a, we'll see. We'll see which one I like more. We'll see which one I hate more. It's a big we'll see between number 4 and number 5. Number 3 is one that I could see going up, I could see it going down, which is why I put it smack dab in the middle. And a lot of people may not like this, but I have Dark Zodiac as number 3. Now, walking around during construction and just seeing some of the props during the day, the detail isn't really to the level that I anticipate and expect from Halloween Horror Nights. They kind of look, I don't want to say trashy, because I know people have worked on them, but they don't look great. The props don't look great. They kind of look just eh. I mean, the theming, maybe they'll put more stuff out as the weeks go on, because we're still 2 weeks out, but at this point, the zone doesn't look that great, in my opinion, as far as theming goes. I know the monsters and the costumes and everything are going to do the zone justice, but as of right now, seeing all the theming and the tie-ins for the zone is just, there's not much there, and I'm concerned as we're getting this close to the event that there isn't more out there. Speaking of places though that have a lot of stuff out there, my number 2, which may come as a surprise because it just looks so good. My number 2 is Jungle of Doom Expedition Horror. I really wanted to put this at 1, but I have one reason why I am not putting it any higher than 2, and that is because of the congestion of the zone in the past, and just looking at the current status of the zone with the props that are up there, it does kind of look like that's where we're going again. It's going to be really congested with all of those props out in the street, all the scare actors in there. It doesn't look like we are going to have much of an opportunity to just kind of stand in there and just people watch, which is one of the best things to do during Horror Nights, is go into zones and people watch. And Just like last year, it's looking like, again, we might not have that opportunity in the Central Park zone. It looks like we might just be ushered down one end and back the other. It's just, that's the one thing I'm worried about with this zone. But other than that, the theming looks cool, the story sounds cool, everything about this zone looks amazing, and I can't wait to see it during the night. But it's got to be at number 2 for me, because number 1, we got Vamp 69 Summer of Blood. I love the Vamps. Vamp 85 is my favorite zone of all time. And the fact that they're coming back in a 60s theme this year is amazing. I can't wait to hear some Jimi Hendrix. I can't wait to hear the Doors, the Zombies, the Beach Boys maybe even. I'm excited to hear a ton of awesome 60s music. I'm excited to see some hippie vampires. I'm excited to see the stage show that they are having going on there. I'm excited to see how Dr. Oddfellow fits into the zone and just how it develops the story and the connection between Vamp 55, Vamp 85, and Vamp 69. Overall, the plot is thickening with the Vamp storyline, and I'm here for it. I'm excited. I am ready to get in that zone and just chill out with a drink for an entire night and just be like, there goes the Jimi Hendrix vampire. Up there goes Jim Morrison. I'm just, it's gonna be great. The Vamp zones are my favorite. I can't say it enough. But Vamp 69 Summer of Blood, number 1 scare zone for me this year, heading into the event. But now let's move on to our houses. We got 10 houses here in Orlando, and at number 10, it's probably to no one's surprise that this is at number 10 for me, and that's The Exorcist Believer. I'm not a big Exorcist franchise fan, and the fact that we don't know much about this movie, we have one trailer as of right now, which looked really good, don't get me wrong, but the movie doesn't come out until about the end of the event. We won't really understand what we're seeing in the house. It's just, there's too many question marks about this house and about what we could possibly be seeing in it to make me put it any higher on the hype list. I physically in my mind cannot put this any higher just because of the unknowingness of the house and what we could be seeing. Now, don't get me wrong, it could be great, and if it is great, I'm excited. I'm excited for it to be great. I'm excited for it to jump up the rankings, but as of right now, I really can't put it any higher than number 10. And that kind of brings us into number 9, which is a very similar feeling for me. And number 9, I have The Darkest Deal, which a lot of people would be like, oh, really? The Darkest Deal at number 9? Wow, that was one of my higher houses on the hype list. To me, I love the idea. I love the story behind it. But the story is The Devil Went Down to Georgia. It's like the selling your soul for fame and money. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, how the hell is this going to work in a Horror Nights house? How are they going to convey that story in a Horror Nights house and make it scary? I'm really having a hard time building this story in my mind and building this house in my mind, which is why it's going to be at number 9 on my hype list. It's a really boom or bust kind of story and house. If they do it well, it could immediately jump extremely high on my rankings. But if they don't do it well, it could easily either stay or even drop to the bottom. It's a boom or bust for me, honestly. This is the biggest risk of the event in my opinion. Number 8 though. Number 8, I feel bad putting this low, but I just don't have enough prior knowledge about this property to put it any higher than this. And a lot of people are going to hate me for this. The Last of Us. I have The Last of Us at number 8. I didn't play the games. I didn't watch the show. I need to play the game or at least watch a walkthrough to get at least a better idea. But I feel like we've seen this before. I mean, last year we had Descendants of Destruction, kind of the same thing. We've had The Walking Dead in previous years, kind of the same thing. The post-apocalyptic kind of story has been done before. And I get that the voice actors are back from the video game to do more lines for this house, but it's just, I don't have enough of a connection with this series to put it higher than 8. At number 7 though, I once again feel bad about putting this low, but to me, we've once again been there, done that, seen this, done that. It's just, number 7's Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. I love the lore and what story this brings to Horror Nights and like the Horror Nights just overall arcing story, but it's going to be a carnival house. It's going to be clowns. It's going to be funny kind of big top thing. And we've seen the carnival stuff done before. Clowns don't really scare me. So, I mean, other than just the building of the lore and the new icon we're getting out of this house, I'm just not really excited for it, honestly. It's going to answer a couple questions that we have from the past, but overall, I'm not expecting too much of a wow factor of this house. I could be wrong, but as of right now, I have to have it at number 7 because it's just not there for me yet. Number 6 though is another one that people may get upset for me about, and that's Dueling Dragons. Now, Dueling Dragons, it's an old attraction, it's an old roller coaster. They have an established storyline, they have an established lore for this, but I'm just having a hard time figuring out how this is going to be scary, how it's going to fit into the horror genre. I get it's fantasy, it's going to be dragons. Dragons are similar to dinosaurs, so in my sense, that's going to be kind of scary for me. But just in general, I'm just having a hard time figuring out how this is really going to fit into the event. Now, don't get me wrong, it could be great, it could jump up, but it also could go down, which is why I have to put it right in the middle, because it's another one of those boom, bust. There's a lot of risks that that Universal is taking this year in their original houses, and I'm interested to see how it plays out for them. It's a very bold strategy this year. But let's move on to number 5. Now, had you asked me a couple months ago about this specific house, I would have told you easily number 10. Not hyped for it at all. But since we got the actual announcement for this house, since we got more of a story on it, it immediately launched up my hype list, and that is Chucky Ultimate Kill Count, slotting in at number 5. This house sounds amazing. I love the fact that it's really meta. I love the fact that they're kind of taking this already established IP and building a completely different story off of it. Now, I'm not the biggest Chucky or Child's Play fan, but just in general, this concept is so fascinating to me. It seems so cool. It just seems like it's something that I could really get behind and go through a ton. I feel like this one might surprise a lot of people. I have that feeling down in my stomach that this is going to be a lot of people's like, wow, that was a really surprising house this year. But let's move on to number 4, to something that I'm viewing as our funny, campy house of the year, and that's Yeti Campground Kills, a 50s campground summer camp with a bunch of Bigfoot running around and killing people. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I'm honestly, like I said, really excited for this house. I love the Yeti series. I love the Swamp Yeti from Slaughter Cinema. I loved Yeti Terror of the Yukon, and I'm just expecting that I'm gonna love this. Give me more Yeti. Give me all the Yetis. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for just the overall just campiness of this entire house, and I'm excited to see the Slaughterfest. Slaughterfest also brings me into my next house. Now, people are going to be like, why do you have this so high in your list? And that's just based solely on the kind of story that I have built up in my mind for this house, which has kind of been confirmed slightly from the Discover Universal podcast, but I just view this next house as being an absolute bloodbath, and that's Blood Moon Dark Offerings. I have that at number 3. Like I said, I think that this is going to surprise a lot of people as well. I think this house is going to be what we really wanted last year, but done right, with kind of that really bloody kind of just coven-based house. It's going to be really cool. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the colonial style, and it's just going to be really, really cool. But once again, like I said, I'm getting that just uneasy feeling that this may end up being a similar situation to last year with Spirits of the Coven. I had Spirits of the Coven really high on my list. I was expecting it to be so good, and it just fell flat. So I'm very concerned about this one because of how excited I am for it. And I don't want to be let down again. I really don't. But let's move on to number 2. And I'm sorry, it can't go much higher than this. I wanted to put it higher, but I really can't. At number 2, we got Stranger Things 4. I'm excited. Stranger Things is one of my favorite series, and the 4th season was even more terrifying than ever. I just am concerned because season 2 and season 3's house was terrible. So I'm just really hoping they recapture that lightning that the first house had and how great it was, and really recapture that magic, because there are so many amazing, iconic scenes from this house. I want to see Eddie on top of the trailer playing some Metallica. I want to see Max floating in the air as Vecna's trying to kill her, and hear that running up that hill by Kate Bush. I want to see all of the iconic scenes, and I really want to relive this season. I just finished rewatching it for the second time, and it has me even more hyped for this house. But it can't be more hyped than my number 1 spot. You really think I was gonna wear this shirt and not talk about it? Number 1 on my hype list for this year for Orlando, it's gotta be Universal Monsters Unmasked. Whew! This one's gonna be a good one. We got all sorts of good monsters. We got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We got Invisible Man. We got the freaking Hunchback. We got the Phantom of the Opera, baby. I'm excited for this one. I am over the moon excited for this one. The Paris Catacombs, the Paris Opera House, the Cathedral. I'm excited for this one, and that's the bottom line, because Hallowed Thrills said so. Number 1 on my list. I cannot stress it enough. But before I go and lose my mind even more about this house, let's move on and talk about Hollywood. So Hollywood has 8 houses, but they also have 1 terror tram. So like I said, I'm mixing them together and including the terror tram in my hype list. So that's a total of 9. So starting us off at number 9 is, of course, going to be The Exorcist Believer. I talked about it previously with Orlando's hype list. We just don't know enough about it for me to put it any higher. But number 8 is one that I kind of wanted to replace number 9 with, and the main reason is we kind of already saw this house last year, and that is Evil Dead Rise. Now, last year at the event, we were supposed to have Evil Dead Rise over in Hollywood, but it got replaced, and they took the Universal Horror Hotel and put that whole story in there. Loved that house. Thought it was great, but my concern is, since that was just basically a de-skinned version of the Evil Dead Rise house, I just have a feeling that I'm gonna go through this house and be like, seen that, seen that, seen that. This doesn't feel like what I came here and loved the previous year. I'm just really concerned about this house, and that there's not going to be enough difference for me to, frankly, give a damn about it. It's just, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned about this one. But let's move on to number 7. And that is The Last of Us. Same kind of deal. I don't know much about the IP. I didn't play the games. I really need to get on that. I have it. I just need to play it. But The Last of Us, it's at number 7. I'm sorry for all the people who are big fans of it. I'm not the biggest fan, but I am still excited for it regardless. But let's move on to number 6. And this is where the Terror Tram Exterminators is going to show up. I think that this is a really cool story, and frankly, it might be better than last year's in my opinion. I really like the whole concept of the humanoid bug combination. It's much different than what we got last year over in Orlando with the bugs eaten alive, where they were just big bugs. But this time it's pretty much like humans with big bug heads, and I think that's just a really cool sci-fi take on this. And you still have those people with like the weird kind of skin conditions, and that part's gonna be terrifying. I'm just really excited for this whole story that they have built for this Terror Tram this year. It's gonna be really cool, and I'm excited to go on the Terror Tram again, because that was one of my favorite parts at last year's event. But let's move on to number 5, because this one is an original house from Hollywood that I missed out a couple years ago going through, and ever since I've been like, I need to go through that house. I wish I could have gone through that house, and I have the opportunity this year to go through it, and that's Holidays in Hell. I think that this is an amazing concept. I love this idea, and I'm excited to finally go through it. I'm excited to see Satan Claus. I think this house is amazing. I think the concept is amazing. Now, John Murdy did confirm that it's going to be all the same holidays as the previous iteration, but they will have a little bit of tweaks to the effects and certain things just to kind of make it better than it previously was, the previous iteration of it was. So I'm really excited to see this house. I'm over the moon excited about this one, but it's kind of in the middle for me just because the other four are just so fantastic. At number 4, we have one that I really wish I could put higher, but it just does not have the same kind of hype for me in Hollywood as it did in Orlando, and that is Universal Monsters Unmasked. I know, super surprised. I was like so on the hype train for this in Orlando, but from hearing the story from Hollywood's house, it just does not have the same kind of hype for me. They're only going to be in the catacombs, which is kind of like, Orlando's is going to be more above the surface, as well as including the catacombs, which is, I'm not really as excited about this one. I know that they have more of a well-developed story, at least from what I've been hearing for Hollywood's, with Dr. Jekyll and the Invisible Man being on the run for malpractice. But there's just something about this one that just does not have me nearly as hyped as Orlando's house. I don't know what it is, but it's just something about it that just is not quite there for me. But let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is Stranger Things 4. Now, I'm excited for it, don't get me wrong. Stranger Things 4 is a fantastic season for a fantastic show, but based on Hollywood's track record with this IP, that's the reason why it's at number 3 for me. Stranger Things 1 for them was Stranger Things 2 and 3 for them was god-awful. Tons of black walls, just not a good showing for the IP, and just overall, it's the main reason why Stranger Things 4 is at number 3 and not any higher. I mean, regardless, it's going to be a cool house just based on the amazing season that it has to work from, but I'm just concerned based on how Hollywood has done it in the past. Maybe third time's the charm. Maybe this house is going to be fantastic. I really hope so for all of you Hollywood people, that this house blows the previous 2 iterations out of the water. And number 2 for me is one that I was really high on in Orlando and even more higher on for Hollywood, and that is Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. I'm as surprised as you guys are. I think this house is going to be even better over in Hollywood. Just seeing the facade they have with all of those Chucky boxes, seeing the fact that we're going to be going into a factory first, like the Good Guys factory first, that whole idea is just really cool to me. And just hearing what John Murdy has been saying about this house just really has me hyped with all of the animatronics that they're going to have, all of the puppets. It's going to be really cool. Now, I hope that he isn't overhyping this, but knowing John Murdy, he isn't, and this is going to be a fantastic house, and I couldn't be more excited for it. But there's still one more house that I got to be more excited for, and at number 1 on my hype list, it's Monsteros, the Monsters of Latin America. I could not have anything higher on my list. This one had to be number 1. The story of this house sounds amazing. The monsters and the character design in this house sounds amazing and looks amazing. I'm just super excited for this house. I loved La Llorona last year, and I thought everything about that house was perfect. And just seeing the facade of this house really kind of brings me back to that first time I saw the facade for La Llorona. So I am so excited for this house. Honestly, I could not be more excited for this house. The fact we're getting a massive animatronic in this house is going to be terrifying. I just really think Hollywood outdid themselves this time with this house. It's going to be amazing, and it had to be number 1. But that is it. That is all of our hype list for both Orlando and Hollywood. It's the final countdown, guys. We got 2 Fridays, a little bit more than 2 weeks left until opening night of Horror Nights. It's getting there, man. I hope you guys are all hyped. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, drop a like down below and also comment down below. What is your hype list, and what did you think of mine comparative to yours? Do you agree with some things? Do you not agree with other things? I'd like to know down below. But as always, I'm Mike from Hallowed Thrills giving you the all clear, and all clear means you're out of here. See you guys next time.